so excited. I wanted to talk to all of my friends and interview them one by one. So my first guest is amazing. This is Vega, my friend in Maine, who's currently in Pennsylvania.
Hi, everybody.
A global soul, so I don't want to tie you down to a place.
It's true. Someone asked me recently, where are you? And I was like, I am here. That is where I am. But I've been in Italy and Paris and lots of other fun places, even Germany from time to time. Yeah, so, hello, Deutschland.
This morning I heard chainsaws when I woke up. So for like that half second, I thought I was back home because, of course, at my parents' house with my.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I hear chainsaws in the back.
That's so funny.
Oh, yeah.
It's really funny not seeing the people on Facebook that are or are not interacting with us, but whoever you are, we love you. Yeah. I'll speak for the both of us. You're loved by us and by many.
That'll be the next technology we figure out.
Yes.
All right, so I wanted to talk, well, you offered up that you would love to talk to me about honesty.
I love it. Well, thank you for having me. And I'm so excited about your Alchemy of the Mind series. For those of you who don't know the Cricket and Liv story, we've been soul sisters what seems like 900 lifetimes, but we met in college. And even though there were times when Cricket was living in China and I was in New York, we've always felt really connected. And one of the ways we felt connected is in exploring basically our own minds and how we just keep trying to be our best people and live our best life. And so I was so excited because I'm sure some of you on the Cricket side of things are all incredible, really talented people, a lot of you women. And I'm thrilled I got to work with some of you in DC on some of the events we did together, but it's just really cool. So brava, sweetheart, for putting this together, because I think it's going to be an awesome series. I'm so thrilled to be a part of it. But more importantly, I just can't wait to watch it and see what people talk about.
Amazing. Yeah, so, my journey kind of with honesty that really went public is a few years ago when I moved to Germany. On my dating app profile, I put radical honesty as my description.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I've been kind of subscribing to it, like personally and privately, but not putting it out there into the universe for like, I don't know, maybe a year or two after I'd read The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. That was like the book that really got me thinking about the mind and the power. So when I put radical honesty on there, of course, Tim, who is now my husband, was the first and only last guy to say, tell me more about this.
It just takes one, Cricket, and I'm glad it's Tim. I love you. Ik liebe dich, Tim. I don't know if you're allowed to say that as a friend, but I just said it.
So yes, that of course was the start of a journey that was beautiful. It was great to have a relationship based on that from day one, where it was radical honesty or nothing. Like, let's be vulnerable, let's be really brave, let's put everything out there.
Wow.
So, yeah, so I'd love to hear if you have, kind of like an example of a time that you've been honest. And then I want to talk about kind of the rewards that come with that, or like what you gain, what you win from being honest. Because I have a list a mile long, including my husband. But I'd love to hear some of like an example that you have.
Well, it's so interesting that you put that into perspective with relationships. So, as an example, yesterday there was something I was really honest about, and it was me just stating my truth of what I want to do and be in life. And my truth, I'm happy to share it with the studio audience here and abroad, is that, I really want to live in Italy part-time. I really want to adopt kids, and I really want to pursue acting things or being in the public eye. So thank you for this opportunity to be on the podcast, because that's kind of part of the being out in the open. And I was so nervous to talk about it because up until 6 months ago, I don't even know if I knew it. And I think the thing with honesty is that it's really easy to know if something's true or false. For instance, if the example of George Washington and the cherry tree, he either like knocked that tree down or didn't. It's a fact. But for me, the hardest part is finding out my truth. So I think the hardest part of honesty is the truth. And where my truth pilgrimage started was before I was even conscious of it. When I was in my, I guess, 18, 20, my mom said that when she was raising my brother and I, that someone told her when we were little, think of the 3 characteristics you want your kids to have when they're in their 20s, when they're young adults, and raise them that way. And my mom said that she wanted to raise us, the characteristics were she wanted my brother and Alex and I to be honest, courageous, and passionate. And when she told me that, I was blown away, because both my brother and I, even though we have completely different values and priorities and personalities, we have that honest, courageous, passionate life. And it's really funny because in Alex, I joke, his honest is that he feels like it's his civic and moral duty to tell you if you have a pimple on your face, and like it's his like he has to tell you that. Where and I'm being funny because he's a really honest, good person too, but for me it translated into this constantly seeking the truth. And in a sermon I heard recently, I remember hearing that all truth is God's truth. And to me, I think that's true. And also, I've always felt like the truth is the truth. So I've scoured in my lifetime in conversations with you, in in every novel I read. I was just waiting for that one phrase that was like, that Oprah aha moment, that universal truth that to me brings us together. So I've always sought the truth, but then honesty is the expression of that truth. And the hardest part is, I think, being ourselves and being honest with who we are, especially if you're like me and you haven't always accessed that. So yesterday, when I was sharing these big dreams, which I realized is also hard for me because I've never met anybody that kind of like has these dreams like that I do. So it's kind of weird being like, yep, I'm the only one like this, I think. Well, maybe there's another one. I don't know. We'll see. But it was really exhilarating is the word I would use. It was exhilarating and scary. And I was really lucky that my friend that I was talking to was so supportive and loving and amazing and encouraging. And what I'm working on now, as of like 5 minutes ago with my amazing call with my therapist that was before this, so like perfect time for one of these podcasts, is that I'm working on being able to speak my truth and know that if somebody disagrees with me or has a totally different perspective, that it's not a reflection on me, and that shouldn't stop my radical truth, my radical honesty. And I love it. I don't think I knew that about you and Tim when you first started dating. And like, bravo to you for being so vulnerable and brave. And I don't know, it's just like when something clicks, like you go for it.
Yeah. And again, like that took me about a year to get to that point of bravery where I could put that publicly out there. Because if I expect honesty of myself and others, the hardest thing is to be honest with yourself, right? It's one thing to say, oh, I don't think you're like being honest there with me. And of course, it's a lot harder to be like, am I being honest with myself?
It's so hard.
Yeah.
So it's so hard. Yeah.
Brings up a good question though, like how do you know when you're being honest with yourself? Like you said that you're searching for the truth. Like, is there a way that you can describe how you know when you're being honest?
I hear like bells, sort of. It's almost like not really. I don't really hear bells. And I asked my cousin, I asked my cousin this question too, like, how do you know what you really want? He's like, I don't know what you're talking about, Liv. Because like he was like, I know what I want all the time. Like I want a pizza, I want to move here, I want to do that. Like for me, so much of my life was based growing up on everybody around me, focusing on everybody around me, and not paying attention to the little voice inside me. So usually I'm able to, it requires an insane amount. Like it sounds crazy when you talk about it like this, but I have to like stop and think, and like, sometimes like if you ask me my favorite color, blue, like it just like comes out. I know it like that. You ask me, what city I want to live in, or, what I was so proud of myself for finding out my 3 life goals, but, kind of ancillary things that most people don't think about that they just naturally know. I have to dive deep. Like I really have to like stop and sit with it in a quiet place and like unpack. And I feel my center and kind of who I am, my soul and my core and my stomach. Like that's like where my intuition lies. So diving down there, and sometimes I get a big old whoop, or as the Italians say, whoop. Or as the Indians go, it's just like, and so then I wait, and then I ask myself other questions, and I keep trying. But again, to your point, it's really hard. And then what I've been doing lately is when I know it, I freaking write it down and I remind myself. So like with my Italy, let's see if I can bring it up here on, I might've changed it to the lovely Lena. No. I drew like a chart. So like my focus is Italy, family life. I love God. So I created this little, I don't know if you guys can see it on my phone. It's probably backwards and dyslexic like me.
Yeah.
So to remind myself that like, hey, Liver, like you've wanted to adopt kids since you were a little kid. Like, don't forget, like, hey, Liv, like, you want to live in Italy, don't forget, like, hey, you want to do some acting stuff or be, don't forget. So it's reminding myself, because I was so in tune to other people for so much. It's so easy to be like, oh yeah, whatever, we'll do whatever anybody wants to do. But knowing it, and then reminding myself of it, and then we change. So being on top of myself, so to speak, to try to figure that.
This is a really good point. I love the writing it down thing. The best way I have to describe it too is like I kind of interview myself, where it's kind of like what you mean unpacking. Like I ask it like, okay, where did you come from? Who brought you here? Like, who's this voice telling me that I want to adopt kids? Like, is it, something my parents raised in me? Is it something that like society expects of me? Or is it really like a belief that I have deep inside of me? So I love to hear your thoughts about that too, because I'm like, how do other people?
I love it. So you heard this happens in every call that Cricket and I have at some point. She says some sort of divine piece of wisdom, which I'm so glad, where I go, ooh. Or my favorite is, for all of you who watch Kissing Jessica Stein, there's a scene in it where like her best friend's just like, wow. So we haven't gotten to the wow portion yet, but yeah, that's
So I like to hear your explanation was good of it too, and I like the writing it down, because our brain also like plays tricks on us sometimes too. So even if we change our mind, like we still know that was a truth at some point, and that's okay if it changes,
right?
Because as long as we're staying true to ourselves, even if something I think we think is, we're being honest at that time,
right,
it might change, right? Like we might think about a different way to react, or just because you said yes, a month ago doesn't mean that you want to keep saying yes to that thing that showed up in your life.
Also, something that my mom taught me when I was younger, which I just popped into my head right now. It's okay to say, like I was just thinking as you were talking about the truth. So then what's that bridge to honesty? So it's the expression of your truth, right? That's honesty. Yeah. It's okay to say, I don't know. Yeah. So if somebody asks you a question, she always said in an interview, which I don't think is actually good advice, Mom, I love you, but actually try to come up with a creative way to answer people's questions in interviews. But you can take a beat. You don't have to, we're so reactive. We're in such a, like, you text me, I text you. You comment, I comment. You like, I like. It's that we can wait. You can wait. There's no time limitation on figuring things out. And you can say, I can get back to you, even in like really, really important things. Like if you're talking about marriage or something with someone and you're not sure, you can say, I'm not sure. I need time to think about it. So that giving yourself permission to not know, I think is also a good tool in trying to be honest.
I love that. I was thinking about how crucial that is, especially in a relationship where you don't want to say something that might spark a big fight if you haven't had time to kind of assess what's true. And if you have a partner to like be able to at least talk it out, just be like, don't take anything personally I'm going to say for the next 10 minutes. I just need to get like the thoughts out in your head. And then of course that also makes me think about how important it is to do that to yourself. Because I think we're always harder. We always kind of have a higher standard for how we treat ourselves,
right?
Of the kind of like the breaks we give ourselves, for the like how kind and gentle we can be on expectations. So
I also was just thinking, I just started watching Anne of Green Gables on Netflix yesterday, and I've never read the books, but this little girl, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's like precocious and funny and like talking to trees, because I love trees, if you guys don't know, and just loving and amazing, and it kind of from like not a similar background, but interesting things that got her there. And she quoted Jane Eyre, which I also haven't read, so I would love to explore these books. I am dyslexic, so it takes me eons to read stuff, but she said the Jane Eyre quote was something akin to the fact that how come it's the bad thoughts that bubble up? How come it's the bad memories that are so like seared into our brain? Like, why do we believe those, why do we believe what's not true? And, I think it goes to being scared, and I remember in high school, I was dating this really great guy, and I thought, oh, there's like, I just was so like, I don't even understand how this is possible. Like what, like I just was, and, he told me how great I was. Like all my friends told me how great I was. And one girl came up to me and said, ugh, why is he going out with you? And it destroyed me. And it's because I believed her. I let the evil voice, and in Christianity we do like say it's the devil coming up to doubt yourself and doubt your goodness and doubt your glory, but like why didn't I believe him, or like my other best friends that were amazing and talented? Why did I believe someone that didn't know me, didn't know us, didn't have any bearing on anything? It was just like my fear heard that. So like getting those, they're not true, but I love that you posted last week something about how our brain, it doesn't matter what we think. Our brain, if you're thinking it recognizes it as reality. And so it makes total sense that if you're thinking all these negative things or untrue things, that they become true. They become true because we're thinking of them and breaking that pattern. So.
And I think, being honest, it's probably like the bravest thing you can do. It takes so much courage because it is so scary. And like if you take like that girl's comment in the hallway, you have to like face that straight on and say, why did this bother me so much?
Right.
And then it means that you need to look inside yourself and ask yourself that. And
right.
That's where the honesty really, like
right.
The lights are on, right? Like the investigation, like the spotlights, the floodlights are on, and you can't deny it anymore if you want to do something about it. right? Like, 'cause once
No,
you know
that's such
that,
a good.
that's what you have to do to get beyond it. Otherwise, it is gonna take over, and then it's just gonna like influence your decisions. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if I unpack it, like if you and I talk about unpacking things, that at that time, that's what I believed. I believed I was horrible. Like I believed I wasn't good enough. I believed I wasn't great, you know. And so she validated, like, oh, good, there's somebody that sees who I really am. But but that's what I,
True.
believed.
It wasn't true, right?
It wasn't true, but that was, that's what I felt inside. And that's, that is in sense a truth if you think that, so it's really interesting.
It is really interesting.
Brava so this is what we do on a like without cameras on.
Hours. This is like what every Thursday.
Yeah, I know. It's like and this is why I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky. Thank you, God and Cricket. Yeah, it's just it's amazing. It's so liberating. And one thing that came up too is that in one of the questions that you asked in the 900 questions that I answered 20,000 for, is that I've always believed, and I've forgotten, so I'm going to remind myself of this too. I've always believed that, the truth really does set you free, that no matter what happens, if you're your most vulnerable self and in a relationship, if you're honest, nothing bad is going to happen because everything's going to happen the way it's supposed to be, and it's that's life. It doesn't ever bring bad. It never brings bad.
So thank you. This is how I kind of want to end to make sure we get this point out. I want to ask if you've ever had any regrets in times that you've been honest, because I know personally it has brought me nothing but, freedom or clarity or relief or good news or a different perspective. Like, it has brought me gift after gift after gift. Even though it's so painful and so scary for that.
You deserve them, my love.
3 seconds. And I've just gotten so many gifts. So yeah,
I think it's I always try to be as authentically me in every relationship and context as possible. But I think the times where I didn't tell my truth soon enough, but I also try to, I don't want to beat myself up either, or any of us up, because we, like yesterday, or another example of telling truth where I literally, I felt like a window opened and I had to say whatever my truth was at the time. It wasn't because of the person I was sharing it with. It was because I was ready to speak it. I was ready to live that truth, and whatever the consequences were, not even consequences, probably not a bad, or not a, it kind of has a negative connotation. So whatever the gifts or the results or whatever it was, we'll think of them as gifts, because I really do believe the truth does set you free. And that it's at times where I wasn't able to speak my whole truth, it's okay, because I wasn't ready. So it wasn't, but the sooner you do it, you always feel like $1,000,000, and you're like, why didn't I do that a week ago or 9 months ago or 25 years ago, or whatever it is. It's true, but it's scary because you only have control of yourself, and letting go of what other people's reactions are, that's a really hard thing to do, especially if you care about people and you want them not to be upset. That's what I've also.
I don't think it's not easy, but it is simple.
For sure.
It just takes the truth. It just takes the honesty. But it is really hard, of course. And the deeper connections you have with people, the kind of more entangled you are with the past or your expectations. So, yeah, thank you for bringing that up. It's not easy, and it's not something that we should beat ourselves up about at all. I think it's just a constant part of the journey. Like just
Yep.
checking to be like, am I being honest? I want to be honest. Is this my truth? Is this what I want
Right.
to share? But I just know for me it's been like it's a before and after clearly in my life. Like when I knocked it.
Wow.
Now I'm not my time. So
I love it. Well,
right.
my truth is I have to jump off this call.
We're at like the half-hour mark, which is what we wanted to do. Thank
Perfect.
you so much for being my guest.
My pleasure.
And my soul sister. And
I love you and I honor you. And thank you. This was so much fun. And I'm so grateful to you. And I can't wait to see what comes of it. It's going to be such great stuff, babe.
Thank you so much, Olivia.
Ciao. Bye, everyone.